Unsane is the new Steven Soderbergh movie starring Claire Foy as a young woman who is committed to a mental hospital, not exactly on her own free will, and she begins to question her sanity the longer she stays there and interacts with the patients. So, Nate, let's just talk about, the big thing, kind of like the big story behind the production of this movie is that Steven Soderbergh shot this movie exclusively on an iPhone 8.
Yep.
And he said after this experience, he kind of wants to make all of his movies with it. It's such a good time. So let's get into that, like the direction and specifically shooting with an iPhone. So what'd you think?
Personally, I thought it was a little distracting. Right off the bat, I wonder if people going into this that don't know it's an iPhone will find it as distracting. But for me, I found that the iPhone is, it's a powerful camera. It is. But when it comes to a major motion picture, especially with a big director like this, it looks pretty low budget. It looks pretty flat and just kind of bland. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. It did get a little distracting. It looked kind of student film-ish.
Very much so.
And, Steven Soderbergh's an Oscar winner. So I appreciate him trying to experiment with it and everything. But you're right. There are some shots where I don't know if it's kind of like Henry Cavill's lip. In Justice League. It's like, am I seeing it because it's really there, or am I seeing it because I'm looking for it type thing?
Right.
Soderbergh does his own cinematography, and he's always had very vibrant colors, kind of blown out, very soft lighting kind of thing.
Right.
But with this, like, there's a lot of shadows. There's just a lot of things that the iPhone is not capable of doing, and it shows in some parts, and it was a little distracting.
It was, yeah. There's grainy moments in it, and he also had this, especially towards the beginning of the film, he has a lot of shots that it seems like he's really trying to push the depth of field of the iPhone. Because it's not as if she's being looked at from, behind the bushes or behind trees, things like that. So he always wanted to get this, blurry foreground, crisp background, and it just, it didn't pull it off. But then again, I think that it still is fairly admirable of him to use this as a full major motion picture for his camera. I think it's inspiring for filmmakers. Going into the story, though, that's what it's really all about when it's filmmaking. What are you putting on the camera? So what do you think of the story here?
I thought the story, it was a very good kind of guessing game. At the same time, this movie kind of goes right into the story. This woman's committed to this hospital within the first 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it does leave you with a little bit of mystery, is she really insane?
Yeah.
Is she seeing things because she's being haunted by this past stalker?
Yeah.
That she moved to almost to the other side of the country for, and there's a moment where she hallucinates him. She sees him, but he's not really there. So that kind of set the stage for, is this really happening? Is it all in her head? So I think that as far as the story goes, unraveling a mystery, it did its job well.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the pacing was well enough that right when I thought not enough was happening, something would happen. Mm-hmm. So it was nice pacing, where just incident to incident, I thought that was well spread out and everything. But yeah, this isn't really for me. It wasn't so much of a guessing game of whether or not she's insane. It starts that way, and then just sort of moves into more of a cat and mouse type of game, and more of a battle of wits and words type of thing. So, but I think being contained in the hospital with the equipment that he had, I felt like the story flowed a lot better than I anticipated it to.
The stars Claire Foy. She kind of carries the whole movie. What did you think of her performance?
I thought she did well. I thought she held the movie really well. I felt like some of the decisions she made as a character weren't exactly what someone would do or what I would do. She was pretty irrational in that situation. Mm-hmm. I think that she did things where I was like, clearly this isn't helping your situation. Just don't do that. There's a lot of times where I'm like, come on, you're going back to zero by doing something like that. But that's not her fault. I still think that her acting held it together, but some of the side characters didn't. Did you like her?
Yeah, I thought Claire Foy did a fine job. And I kind of disagree with you about some of the choices that she made. I feel like, yes, we're sitting there witnessing this, and we're having a calm, rational thought about how she should handle the situation, but she's stuck in this place.
Right.
Everybody's pointing a finger at her saying, something's wrong with you, and she's like, there's not.
Yeah.
So I can see how that just push her over the edge,
yeah.
and she would make some rational decisions.
I can admit to that of just, as an onlooker, we sit here with horror movies or with mysteries and just being like, don't do that, do this, but you're right. We're relaxed with a bag of popcorn and of water sitting there that like, of course we're going to know what to do. But I guess in the fit of anxiety and in the fit of the situation, maybe those irrational decisions would be made without thinking so much.
Yeah, because she showed instant remorse for when she messed up and when she did something irrational. She knew she messed up.
I did.
But as far as the side characters, I actually was surprised how much I liked Jay Farrow in this.
Jay Farrow did well.
Yeah, I thought he was a good supporting character, and he he delivers a lot of information, but it doesn't come off as like he's an exposition machine where he's like, oh, just let me spew out all this backstory. Let me spew out all this information. No,
Yeah.
like it was relative to the conversation they were having. And I liked his performance. But as far as like the rest of the supporting cast, nobody really stuck out to me.
No, me
It was
neither.
just all kind of like I think their performances is what helped make the iPhone distracting. Like it looked like student film, and they were kind of like student film volunteer actor like performances.
Exactly, and that's when they weren't on screen. That's when I felt like I was like, oh, I'm getting taken out of the experience a little bit because this does feel very cheap at times. It felt very, very cheap. But for the most part, the side characters did their job. The man that plays the stalker or what have you, he was hit or miss for me, and he was given a lot to do in this movie.
Yes, he was.
So he did. I think he performed well, but I felt like sometimes they just gave him a little too much.
Yeah, they put a lot on his shoulders. I don't know if he was really up to the task. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a regular Soderbergh player who makes a cameo in this movie. And his performance is fine. You know, it's just for a scene or two.
Yeah.
But, like, that's when it was like, oh my God, this was shot on an iPhone. You got this big Hollywood star.
Yes.
And he looks like shit on this iPhone. Like, it's just
they
like...
didn't even have a makeup artist on set or anything, it seemed like. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil who this actor is, but he is a huge Hollywood actor. But that was also like, it was like he looks like shit on this iPhone, but also it was inspiring again of being like, look at these guys. Look at this ragtag team that's done like, you know, he just did Lucky Logan, which is like such a huge movie. And then he's just going back to the roots of being like, you know what, this little Nicky thing has a camera. Let's shoot a movie. And I thought it was kind of cool that he got this actor to volunteer to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the ambition and the attempt for what Soderbergh tried to do. It's just that I don't know if it's a thing where he's going to fine-tune it and maybe make it look better when he shoots again with an iPhone.
Could be.
Or if this was just like, all right, well, I tried that and it wasn't the thing, so I'm going to go back to, you know, buffs. All right, Nate, we shared our thoughts on Unsane, things we liked, things we didn't like. We go ahead and put a score on it.
Yeah, I did enjoy this movie for the most part. The iPhone, as we said, was a little distracting. And I think that when shooting on an iPhone, you have to have really, like, you can't get amazing visuals, so you have to have amazing dialogue, you have to have amazing story. And I think this was a valiant effort. So I'm going to go recommended a 6.5. I think it's worth seeing, and it's pretty good for what they tried to do here.
Yeah, I know we leaned heavy on the whole iPhone and the technical aspects, but, you know, that was kind of like the big story going in, so I felt like we should talk about it. With the iPhone, I don't know if I would have noticed it if I didn't know going in, so I don't know if it was something that really stood out or I was just focusing too much on it.
Yeah.
But I will give Unsane a 7 out of 10.
Nice.
Buffs. So that's it for our review of Unsane. What'd you guys think of the movie? And what'd you think about it being shot on an iPhone? Were we paying too much attention to it? Go ahead and leave a comment down below.
Yeah, next week is really excited for me and you.
Oh, I'm pumped for this
very
one too.
pumped.
I'm not quite on your level, but I'm there.
Super excited about Ready Player One. We'll be bringing you our review of that next Friday. But don't forget,
There's no place like the theater.